Hi there, Lauren Crawford, YogiLoren. I wanted to talk to you today about silence. Silence is an important part of our journey wherever we are in our life's path. And it's something that isn't really comfortable or available to many of us, frankly. In our modern lives, our days are occupied with lots of external stimuli. I had an opportunity today facilitating a discussion with colleagues around how we're experiencing the pandemic and what our trajectory has been over the last few weeks, these highs and lows. So I just created an open forum and posed a few questions of reflection. And it was interesting to see the amount of silence. And I really worked to hold that space, because holding the space for silence is so important. We are a society of doers and talkers and action-oriented. And so silence can freak us out. It's not something that we're really comfortable with, but it is incredibly powerful. Think about our days, and for many of us, what it looks like. We get up to the sound of an alarm clock, perhaps with music playing, and we begin the day with that auditory stimulation, right? And then maybe the radio stays on in the background as we're getting ready for work, or turn on the TV and the news is blaring in the background, what have you. And then maybe headsets are donned as we get into public transit or in our own vehicles, turning on radio. And it could be music, or it could be talk radio, or whatever the case may be. My point being that throughout our day, there's actually, for many of us, very few frequencies or times for quiet and stillness. And when those times do arise, it may be a little bit uncomfortable. So the uncomfortableness of stillness is interesting, and it poses the question, why? So if stillness is something that creates a dis-ease, what is that about? The yoga tradition honors stillness and honors the silence of stillness, and it's actually a practice. And when people do their yoga journeys and begin to study yoga, for example, one of the things that I encourage them initially is let's look at, for the next little while, as you begin to deepen your practice, you begin some meditation, you begin some study of the scriptures of yoga, for example, maybe turning off the news for the next, however long it is, weeks, months. Disconnect from the news and that continual bombardment of negative auditory stimulation. And this can be really, really powerful. The other thing that I advise students who start to study is that environment and people who are loud there may be a repelling kind of energy that you no longer want to be around in spaces that are super loud, or around people who are loud. And that's just a progression of you and your own energy. So I just alert people to these things, and know that when and if they do happen, that's okay. Because as your energy changes, your vibratory quality, then it's a like attracts like kind of thing, right? So whereas certain individuals there may have been resonance between the two, you and that other person, and all of a sudden things shift, right? And that's okay. So as yoga journeys deepen, we, I would say, should find ourselves in more silence. Obviously, the most enhanced silence is through meditation. But if you're not a meditator yet, hopefully you will get there. Just time for quiet reflection is really, really important. And this can be done just by setting, 1, 2, 3 minutes of stillness. So closing the eyes, going within, and taking some time to reflect a little bit. It can be a specific contemplation. How am I doing? How am I doing in this COVID pandemic? How am I doing in my relationship with X? And how am I doing in terms of my plan to move forward in this area? So reflection time and deep contemplation in stillness and silence can be totally revelatory. The teachings tell us that it is in silence that the answers are found. So there is something incredibly profound about making time for silence. So I'm going to suggest doing that. I'm going to recommend that you take the time, you schedule the time in your own unique way to allow that space. And it may look like driving with no radio on. It may look like getting ready for work in the morning without a bunch of background distraction. Maybe you're just getting ready with you, right? With your thoughts and with your plans for the day and that sort of thing. Maybe it looks like downloading a meditation app and working with some meditation, following one of my classes and doing the meditations with me. So there are lots of ways to practice silence. And I know that if you bring it into your life in a regular manner, a proactive manner, it will reap incredible dividends for you. And if you have any questions or concerns about how can I find the comfort to be silent, to be still, if that's something that creates anxiety in you, then reach out to me and I'd gladly share with you some insights and some ideas. Just to reiterate, it is really, really wonderful to be able to work in stillness, work in silence, work in the sense that it doesn't come naturally to us in our modern, externally driven, preoccupied kind of lifestyles. So the work of stillness and silence are going to be really, really helpful for you. And over time, you'll start to get to know yourself better. So I think that's really the essence of all of this, is your journey of self-discovery and self-unfoldment necessarily includes periods of stillness and silence. I hope you find that, and I hope that you reap the rewards that silence and stillness will afford you. Namaste.